Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we talk about what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now today I'm going to talk about the trade wars between the various countries in the world. Now the US has entered what are known as tariff wars with various countries, and they've retaliated. In today's video I want to look at the danger posed to French cognac by tariffs. Because of US tariffs, France is facing yet another significant challenge to one of its key cultural and commercial assets. The renowned French luxury drink cognac is at risk of financial destruction. The French cognac producers have expressed their serious concerns that their industry is on the brink of destruction. The situation is unfolding against the backdrop of the ongoing trade tensions between the US, China and the EU. Historically, 97% of cognac production from France has been exported, with the US and China being the primary markets for the symbolic and very famous French product. However, the European Union, concerned about the so-called dumping of low-cost Chinese cars, solar panels, etc., has introduced duties on them, and that a move that has a significant impact on the industry. So China reciprocated by introducing duties on cognac, leading to a serious decline in exports of this product to China, which is very popular there. Now the conflict between the US and the EU, with each imposing tariffs, the European Union decided to impose tariffs on American whiskey, and in response, Donald Trump imposed duties of 200% on European wines and spirits, including cognac. Now, this has already had a significant impact on the industry, and it's important to note that the US, without the current tariff, imports over $3 billion worth of cognac, and the EU only imports around 500 million of US whiskey. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund the channel and my website, SCOBRICSInsight.com, to further develop it. You can do this by making a small donation, which you can do by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who donates does get a personal thank you from me, and I'm thanking you all now. Do keep the comments coming. Love to read them, love to respond to them. Now, Florent Million, who's president of the National Interprofessional Association of Cognac, which represents the industry sectors, expressed his distress, stating, "We're on the brink of financial destruction." He has said that the industry had become useless hostages in a war which we decide nothing. The industry's already faced the huge challenges brought in by the Chinese restrictions, which have lost the cognac sector €50 million per month. In February, Marillion already expressed his concern about the decline in exports, highlighting the situation was beginning to impact all across the labour market that's associated with cognac production in France. He emphasised the importance of the industry to the European and particularly the French economy, highlighting its role in supporting some 70,000 jobs and underscoring the need for policy interventions to safeguard its continued operation. However, the support provided by the European Union, as usual, was negligible, as they decided to position a 50% tariffs on several types of goods imported from the US, including bourbon whiskey. Now, it should be noted that this was a response to the White House's decision to impose duties on steel and aluminium. So why did they pick on American whiskey? Americans described the European decision as extremely disappointing, and it became evident that Europe would not be able to relax and the tariffs would be stepped up, as Trump has a serious aversion to being disappointed. And further action was likely, and he immediately targeted Europe and struck at its core. He remarked, "You don't like our bourbon? Then we'll target your wines and spirits with a 200% duty on wine and cognac imports." Now, previously, in response to declining cognac exports to China, the French government initiated a partial destruction of certain vineyards in accordance with what their bureaucratic terminology says has been a voluntary and temporary measure. Well, when was a government measure ever voluntary and temporary, like income tax maybe, However, recent trade tensions with the United States have caught the wine industry off guard, as Trump imposed unmistakably would have a winning outcome. This is going to make it difficult for French to sell any cognac in the United States, so Marillion wants to resolve this issue. He even went as far as to call the situation catastrophic. While the French people are known for their rhetoric, they don't really like to throw around such strong words, but I think he's right this time. He also highlighted the potential consequences of losing the significant markets of the United States and China as being about to kill the industry. He says the current state of affairs possesses our industry's whole viability is at risk. In 2025, the American market for cognac producers will significantly decline. We expect losses of around 80% in volume and 90% in value, according to Le Parisien. That fits with the fact that exports to China after the introduction of tariffs have experienced a 60% decline over the first 4 months alone. However, these figures are likely to be just the beginning, as Patrick Gorbaudot, who's Vice President of the Cognac Defence and Management Organisation, which unites 250 trading houses, has stated. If we lose both China and the United States, we'll lose around 2/3 to 3/4 of our sales income. The cognac industry is facing ruin, and it's once again appealed to the government and the EU authorities to draw attention to the situation that they find themselves in and help them out. On Thursday, the 20th of March, the French Minister of Agriculture, Ms. Annie Genfranc, visited the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region to meet with cognac producers and promised that the authorities would adhere to a policy of firmness and diplomacy. While acknowledging that the solution to the issue depends on the policy of the EU authorities, who must express strongly and clearly the interests of all the members of the Union. We do not want a trade war with the United States. Well, you certainly started one. And a trade war would be detrimental to all parties involved. Well, it would be detrimental to some more than others. However, it's important to acknowledge that the implications of international trade. The EU imports 500 million worth of wine and spirits from America, while the EU exports 14 billion euros of similar products, wine and etc. to the United States. So it's pretty illogical for the EU to behave like it lives in a glass house. If sales after the Chinese tariffs still left a modicum of hope, then Trump's introducing the tariffs have effectively extinguished any prospect of the export market for cognac being available, which despite the challenges still managed to account for 45% of the industry's exports. Now, the financial impact of this, the tariffs, could cost 2 billion euros annually just for the cognac sector. President Trump, who incidentally doesn't drink alcohol, has decided to punish Europe with alcohol duties because of the tariffs that they did, which is obviously something that Europe can't do anything about. So consequently, Minister Genfran's assertion that trade wars do not result in victors appears to be inaccurate. Any trade war is waged with the objective of winning, and Donald Trump's actions indicate that he considers himself and his countries to be the only winners. And that cannot be said of the French authorities, who are effectively doing nothing. The cognac issue is expected to be discussed by Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot's visit to Beijing on the 27th of March, and the French Prime Minister will also be travelling to China later. Not on behalf of cognac, of course, but just a visit for its own sake. He says, where it's necessary to show firmness, that is the prerogative of the European Union, said Madame Genfranc. When it comes to diplomacy, that is the prerogative of France. However, it's not very clear how France will be able to defend its interests when it cannot overrule the decisions of the European Union and is obliged to follow them whether they like it or not. As for the American market, according to American press reports, the EU will postpone until mid-April the introduction of tariffs on American products, including the bourbon. So there may be some respite, but it's going to be a stumbling block, which will study the list of products and sanctions more closely. Perhaps the fact that Trump has promised to introduce new tariffs on goods from Europe will help the process and perhaps stimulate their mind. It's quite possible that they'll be able to make the cognac war look like child's play. There are plenty of other things that they can do. When it comes to tariffs and sanctions, it appears that the European Union come off worst whether it's competing against Russia, China, or the USA. Maybe the wicked witch fond of lions should stop trying to play games with the leaders who are not mincing metrosexual soy boys and stand up for their countries, because she just can't stand up to Xi, Trump, or Putin. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and click on the alerts to get informed when I post a new video. And if you want to help me out, click on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen. See you all again soon. Thank you.